Coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and Cavs player and coach Damon Jones. Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and Cavs player and coach Damon Jones have been arrested in connection with a wide-ranging investigation into illegal sports gambling and rigged poker games backed by the mafia. Billups is being arraigned today in Portland. Our Trailblazers insider Sean Highkin is on the scene. He'll join the show coming up at 5:20. The Trailblazers have announced Tiago Splitter will step in as interim head coach as Coach Billups has been placed on immediate leave. The Trailblazers back in action tomorrow night. They host the Golden State Warriors. Tip-off from Moda at 7. I'm going to be live from Moda Center with the Rip City Drive at 3. Chris Burkhart will have Blazers game day at 5. Thursday Night Football on Prime. Vikings at the Chargers. LA favored by 3. World Series kicks off tomorrow from Toronto on Fox at 5. Dodgers and Blue Jays. Snell and Savage, your pitching matchup. Rip City Drive with Chad Doings coming up next. I've got goodies for you. Dwight Jaynes at 4:20. Sean Highkin at 5:20. All right, Chris Burkhart is going to join me in just a moment. He's going to be in studio for the first hour. Michael Shacker is here. The Godfather Dwight Jaynes is going to come up at 4:20. And then our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, Sean Highkin, is currently in downtown Portland. He's at the arraignment for Chauncey Billups, and he will join the show at 5:20. We do have more Adam Sandler tickets to give away, so we are here to help people. And we got Thursday Night Football, Chargers, Vikings from Los Angeles. All right, but here's the most important thing. Today is one of those days where I want to hear from you, and we want your take on the news that came out this morning. Telephone number is 503-248-0620. If there's a day to sound off and to share your thoughts, today is one of those days. And as I've always talked about on radio, you know, we're a big community here in Rip City. We follow the same team. We live in the same area. We enjoy a lot of the same things. And so we get a chance to come together and talk. And today is one of those days where I think we should communicate together to be able to process everything that we got this morning. So here's how it went down for me. I got home late from Moda Center last night after the season opener. And I'm still adjusting to my new life of being back in basketball season. So that means longer work days and less sleep. And so by the time I got to bed or fell asleep, it was probably around 2 a.m. And so I didn't really have a planned wake-up time. I normally just wake up automatically, usually on Blazer nights, maybe a little bit later, like 8 o'clock, 8:30, somewhere in that area. And so when I woke up, it was roughly around 8:45. I was thinking about a cup of coffee, and I was still had the cobwebs in my head and my eyes. I was still a little bit blurry and trying to figure out what was going on after a long night. And I looked at my phone, and all of a sudden, I was like, what the heck is going on? I had multiple missed phone calls from people at iHeart, the company number, my boss, my two bosses, Chris Burkhart, all of these people who have called me, and my phone had like 100 different people who had texted me to leave me messages. My initial thought was they've gotten rid of the station, or I've been laid off, or iHeart is getting rid of us, or maybe Damian Lillard had passed away in a car wreck. Like, I did not think good things. And then I started to sift through some of the news. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And that's pretty much how I was made aware of what went down. Now, Chris Burkhardt, who is with me right now, you had a similar experience, right? Where you got home late like I did. You go to bed, you wake up a little bit later on a long game night, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and your phone went nuclear.
I did. I slept through my alarm. I was tired. You and I are not ready for this.
No.
I slept through my alarm. I woke up, and I grabbed my phone, as habit, like most of us do. And I had like 10 different people texting me, which is like, that's odd. First one, I check it. It was a Chauncey joke. I'm like, oh, okay, Chauncey, what's going on? I checked my next one. It was also a Chauncey-related text. Third one was a screenshot. I'm like, what's going on? Something's up. And then I saw that I also had a notification on my phone from Shams, and I'm like, oh, and I'm sitting. I mean, perk up. When you go from groggy to awake. I'm like, oh. And my wife's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know. Hold on. Wild.
I counted them up. I had 15 different text messages from people I know and Trailblazer fans. No joke. They all used WTF with a link to the story. Like, people were going through the same process we were, trying to process everything that went down. So what we're going to do on the show today is just try to present the details and what we know. And we're going to play some audio from the press conference, which was headed up by Kash Patel, the director of the FBI. Sean Highkin will join us at 5:20. He's covering the arraignment of Chauncey Billups. And the Godfather, Dwight Jaynes, has got some insight also, not just on the Billups situation, but also on Tiago Splitter. I thought, and I don't know if you thought this, Burkhardt, I assumed that Nate Bjorkgren would be named the interim head coach because he had head coaching experience. But Tiago Splitter gets the call. And from people I've spoken with already, this could turn out to be something awesome because Tiago Splitter has got a lot of respect around the league. He's done a lot of good work in international basketball as a coach. Like, they may have a great coach in the making right here. So I'm pretty excited about Tiago Splitter taking over that position. I think he's ready for it. And in terms of basketball play, I don't think they'll skip a beat. I think Tiago Splitter, he'll learn on the job. But, man, I'm excited about what he's going to be able to bring to the club.
Well, if the defensive identity is already there, which it was last night, Tiago is going to be able to instill offensive identity, which is still lacking a little bit. If you've listened to Courtside Monday or any of the game days, fifth quarters, I love the hire of Tiago Splitter the minute it happened. I think he's a great basketball mind, comes from playing with Greg Popovich, and then obviously coached with the Houston for a minute, went there to Paris, won a championship. He is a great basketball mind. I was with you, too, when people were asking me who's going to be. It's like, oh, it's going to be Nate Bjorkgren. That's just obvious. That's what it was last year when Chauncey missed a few games. So, yeah, I was surprised, but I like it because I like Tiago a lot.
All right, you could jump on board. We want to hear from you, 503-248-0620. And, Chris, if it's okay, I want to read some of the report that came out. This is from the Oregonian. It was put together by Mike Rogaway and Maxine Bernstein, also with the help of Joe Freeman. And the reason why I want to read through this is to kind of give everyone a background on what's going on, because some of the details in here, like, it reads like a bizarre novel. It really does. I read it, and I'm like, no way. Are you kidding me? So let's walk through some of this. This is from the Oregonian, and it says here, federal agents arrested Portland Trailblazers coach Chauncey Billups early Thursday as prosecutors accused him of participating in rigged poker games, using his celebrity status as a former player to attract gamblers to play in underground games fixed by criminal conspirators. Billups, 49, will not coach the Blazers in the near future, with the NBA on Thursday saying he'd be placed on immediate leave from the team. Both cases and people outside the NBA who allegedly have links to the mafia. Billups was one of among more than 30 people indicted Thursday in two separate cases involving NBA figures, some of whom played a role in both cases, and people outside the NBA who allegedly have links to the mafia. The second case does not directly name Billups, but suggests someone who matches his credentials provided insider information that enabled others to bet against the Blazers games back in 2023. That's a very significant allegation for the NBA. It suggests the Blazers coach may have shared information from his job leading the team, and that information helped gamblers win their bets, potentially undermining the integrity of competition in the league. Billups appeared briefly in federal court Thursday afternoon in Portland and is set to be released. He's accused of money laundering and wire fraud, conspiracy in the alleged poker scheme, and won't enter a plea until next month. At a Thursday morning news conference, and we're going to hear from some of this, which was back in Brooklyn, New York, announcing the charges, interim U.S. Attorney Joseph Nocella said criminals attracted gamblers whom they called, quote, fish, to play in rigged poker games involving former pro athletes whom they called face cards. Nocella said Billups was among the, quote, face cards who played in the games, which allegedly defrauded unknowing players out of tens of millions of dollars. Such face cards allegedly received a portion of the criminal proceeds in exchange for their participation, according to the federal indictment. Quote, my message to the defendants who've been rounded up today is this: your winning streak has ended. Your luck has run out, according to Nocella. Violating the law is a losing proposition, and you can bet on that. Now, one little side note, I listened to the press conference, and I did think that the FBI was a little bizarre with some of their puns. A little bit. And they were trying to go out of their way to pat themselves on the back, which was odd. The report from the Oregonian continues. The poker allegations against Billups predate his time with the Blazers. Billups and others allegedly organized and participated in a rigged game in Las Vegas around April of 2019. According to the indictment, they allegedly used a rigged shuffling machine to defraud other players of at least $50,000. The Blazers hired Billups as their head coach back in 2021. The allegations jeopardized Billups' future in the NBA, which has grown increasingly sensitive about the impact of gambling on the sport. Prosecutors said the league cooperated in the multi-year investigation that triggered today's indictments. Quote, we are in the process of reviewing the federal indictment announced today, which the NBA said in a statement. Billups has been placed on immediate leave, and we will continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. We take these allegations with the utmost seriousness, and the integrity of our game remains our top priority. Billups coached the Blazers in their season-opening game on Wednesday night in their loss to Minnesota. Billups was arrested around 5 a.m. at his home in Lake Oswego. According to his lawyer, FBI agents took him to the Portland FBI office and then to the Mark O. Hatfield U.S. Courthouse in downtown Portland. The arraignment's scheduled for 1:30. Again, Sean Hyken will join us later in the show. He is covering that arraignment. Let's see here. The Blazers did cancel their media session this afternoon. This is where it gets interesting, and I want to read this part here. Prosecutors say people who organized the poker games that featured Billups used a rigged shuffling machine that had been altered to read the cards and predict which players had the best hands. They then used wireless technology to notify a conspirator at the table, the, quote, quarterback, and tell that person who had the best hand. Organizers of rigged games allegedly used X-rays, special glasses, and other tools to identify playing cards, even when they were face down. Most often, the gamblers were playing Texas Hold'em. The rigged poker games allegedly took place in New York, Las Vegas, and Miami. Prosecutors linked the games in New York to mafia crime families, but it's not clear from the indictment if organized crime played a role in other cities. The indictment alleges Billups participated in a fraudulent game in Vegas, but doesn't say if he played elsewhere. Now, oh my goodness, there were electronic communications among some of the co-conspirators. And then it continues on, and I want to read this part here. Billups is not among the 6 defendants facing criminal charges in the sports betting scheme, but federal prosecutors identified co-conspirator 8 as an NBA player from 97 through 2014 who coached since 2021 and lived in Oregon. That description, of course, matches Billups. Quote, co-conspirator 8 told Ernest that the same person allegedly involved with Billups in the poker game that the team would be tanking to improve its draft odds, and several of the Blazers' best players would not suit up in a game March 24, 2023, before that information was publicly known, according to the indictment. So there you go. That's the latest details on the case. And we've got some audio from the press conference as well. All right, Chris Burkhardt is here. Your telephone number is 503 today. Dwight Jaynes at 420, Sean Hyken at 520, the news that came out today. Dwight Jaynes at 420, Sean Hyken at 520. Chris Burkhart's going to be with me up until the end of the first hour. 503-248-0620. Look, this is a time to come together. It's time for you to sound off. What's your take on the news that you've read today in regard to Coach Billups? 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we're going to take your phone calls here in just a moment. Chris Burkhardt is with me. So, like, how are you processing?
Never lived like it's just wild. Never expected this. Never lived through this. It's just wild. Never expected this. Never lived through this before. Didn't expect news that your coach was being hauled off by the FBI for a gambling ring tied to the mafia. Like there's a lot to process here. I'm processing it, going through it logically is keeping in mind that right now everything is allegedly right. So
Yep.
he has to still go through the entire process, go through all these findings to figure out what level of guilt there actually is, and then how that impacts his career moving forward, what the Blazers do, because there's so much hinging on this. Obviously, with Tiago Splitter coming in now as an interim, but you have a new owner coming in, and all these things can change so rapidly. So I think my processing of this right now is kind of like a white water rafter who gets on the raft where it's kind of calm, but you're anticipating those rapids in a little bit because I think it's going to get bumpy.
I think there's a wide ranging of emotions. Some people are just upset because it's another situation the Blazers have to work through, which
Right.
we've been there and done that with situations in the past. Some people are glad he's gone. Some people are confused, and some people are frustrated. Sean in Damascus says, I'm on Chauncey's side. Innocent until proven guilty. This whole administration and DOJ are the worst, most corrupt. Everyone deserves their day in court, and to disprove the allegations, innocent until proven guilty. Let's hope innocent. Damn it, not the way for our highly anticipated season to start. Look forward to your show today, Chad. Thank you very much. And a lot of people, I think, are all over the place right now. I'm most disappointed because this type of news, it's heartbreaking for me because I love the team. I'm a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many great things that came up over the course of the offseason. General manager and coach get re-upped at the end of last year. They draft young Hansen from China. Damian Lillard comes back in a Trailblazer uniform, which is amazing. They get a high-quality vet like Drew Holiday, and then you get the extensions for both Shaden Sharp and Tamani Kamar before the season. And then they came out last night. They didn't win, but there were a lot of great things coming out of that opener in terms of their intensity and how fast they played the defense. And then you wake up and get this. It's just like, are you kidding me? So as a fan, I'm just like, not again. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's the frustrating part is when you had a game last night that itself would have given you enough to chew on for the next 3 hours because it was so good.
It was a great game.
But we're stuck talking about something that had nothing to do with the on-court performance. I mean, Anthony Edwards after the game talking to media says that, yeah, there's no more coming to Portland for an easy win. That team's crazy. They're switching left and right. They're guarding you 94 feet. Like, they made us work. And that is, no one's even talking about that.
That's the ultimate sign of respect.
Right. No one's talking about it because of what happened at 6 a.m. And that's pretty crazy.
All right, Chris Burkhardt's here. I'm here. We want to hear from you. Telephone number 503-248-0620. Let's start in Gresham with John. John, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing and Chris Burkhardt. What's your takeaway from the news? All right, John, call back. Bad connection. Let's go to Beaverton. Shanna in Beaverton. Shanna, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's your take on what went down today?
Oh, I'm glad he's gone. A lot of people I know are certainly glad he's gone. I'm hoping this new owner will take over eventually and clean house, and hopefully sooner than later. And I'm hoping this new coach will, I think with the Blazers, with what we have, I think we're awesome. They looked awesome last night. We need to put this past us and move forward as fans. I know so many people that are like going, let's just get on and move forward and put it past us. Just please, we need to put this past us and move forward.
Yeah, I got you. No doubt, Shanna. I appreciate that. Now, I would imagine that with the new owner coming in at some point, you keep Tiago Splitter as the interim, and then the new owner can make a decision on coach at a later date. I would guess.
I would guess, but I'd also wonder how much influence does Dunn didn't have at this point. He was at the game last night, so there's obviously communication. Is there any influence you have to start this process now? I would wonder. You are in a situation now where your coach, very likely done, and Mike Malone is still a free agent. Taylor Jenkins is out there. You got names. That's intriguing. I also do think, though, the continuity aspect of this with the way the team played last night, Nate Bjorkgren, all those guys, and I will say this again, I'm actually excited to see Thiago get a shot. I think he is a very good coach.
Mm-hmm.
And if this was, you take this opportunity and run with it and it becomes great, that's phenomenal. I'm not upset if that's the guy that you just stick to for the year and then decide what you want to do.
All right, let's go out to Salem. Aaron in Salem. Aaron, I appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's your takeaway from the news?
Hey, Dad. Hey, Chris. Wow, what a thing to wake up to today, huh?
Unreal.
Yeah, I was all geared up to dive into the analysis of the game last night, and that's what we got. But after I kind of got over the kind of the initial shock and thinking about Chauncey and his part in all this and all that stuff, I kind of came to I started thinking, maybe this is an opportunity. I mean, I was a little bit interested in seeing what another coach could do with this team. So I guess we have that to see at this point. Another thing was just thinking about the players and like how so many of them are so young, and that Chauncey Billups has been their mentor, like some of these guys for 3 years, and to have them ripped out of their lives like this, I mean, they must be crushed to some extent. Also, possibly we could be as well equipped as possible to handle something like this with having Dame here, just kind of twiddling his thumbs. But, I mean, he's a mentor. He's a great locker room guy. So, I think we have the locker room leadership to pull through this.
I would agree with that. And, one thing we know about athletes, Chris, they have a unique way of being able to adapt and deal with difficult situations because they've all been through it before. Coach changes, lineup changes, like they're used to things not being static, and they're able to adjust on the fly.
I think the difference here is just the circumstances, because you're not used to, again, the FBI being involved in what is on the line here for Coach.
Can you imagine the text chain between the players this morning?
Did Bronny break the news like he did about the AD trade? But no, so you haven't experienced that part, but all these guys have experiences, whether it was GM changes, coaching changes, all that stuff. And we talked about it prior to the season, that one thing this team lacked last year was just that vet leadership. And you bring in Dame, you bring in Drew, who's another great locker room guy.
Yeah.
They got two savvy vets right there who are going to make sure this thing stays on the straight and narrow on the court.
Yeah, this is where the benefit of the work that Cronin's done to really build a culture. And sometimes that gets overstated, but this is a good group of guys. You've been around a lot of teams. This is a good group they've got. Mm-hmm. And that veteran leadership from guys like Dame, like Drew, that's going to pay dividends now moving forward. And it helps to have a guy like Thiago Splitter, who we both think has got a chance to be a star in the coaching ranks. He's got the right makeup. Let's go back to the phones. 503-248-0620. Just got a message from Larry who said the DOJ doesn't typically go to all of this amount of investigation and go through the process of arrest unless they have quite a bit of probable cause. This isn't a political case. This is mafia. I would actually be a bit concerned for Chauncey if he is let out on the bail. If the mafia thinks he had information that will paint them in a bad light, his time on the earth may be shorter than planned. It certainly wouldn't be the first time a witness disappeared. Goodness gracious. All right, let's go back to the phones. Let's go out to Tony in Vancouver. Tony, appreciate the call, boss. Fire away.
Stupid is all I can say. I mean, they've got the goods on him or they wouldn't have gone through this. And he's messing around with mafia people. I just read a book on the mafia. It doesn't end the good for these people that cross them. They end up in the bottom of rivers and the ocean in barrels. It's not good. I mean, he made millions as a player. millions as a coach, and it's not enough. It's just the stupidity. I know he's innocent until proven guilty, but this is stupidity at its highest level.
Well, I appreciate the phone call. Tony, thank you very much, boss. You know, Burkhardt, I think that's the most basic question that's come up in conversations I've had today. This is always something that people talk about, whether it's this situation or something else. Why? You have everything in the palm of your hand. Why seek more? And my answer is always the same. It's because people in general are never satisfied with what they have. They're always looking for more.
Yeah.
Always.
Not
the greed that exists inside of the human heart is maddening.
I say greed is a term and a word for a reason. It absolutely exists. Everyone does want more, and also, like, no joke. The minute I saw the news, I'm like, okay, gambling, this and that, and then you're like, okay, this happens. We've seen this before, but then you see the word mafia, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is a real life episode of The Sopranos. What's going on? But we all know once you're tied in there, it's kind of hard to just walk away and say, hey, see you later, guys. I'm good. There's so many things to this that just make it feel like it's just out of a screenplay.
All right, let's go back out to the phones. We're getting your reaction to the news today that Chauncey Billups has been arrested, being arraigned today in Portland as part of a wide-ranging investigation by federal authorities into illegal sports betting and underground poker games that were rigged. Let's go to Jackie in Sherwood. Jackie, appreciate the phone call. What are your thoughts on the Chauncey Billups news?
Hey, guys. Stunned, shocked, and stupefied. How about that?
Yeah.
In the words of Brian Wheeler. For me, I feel like if he really was doing this and carrying this around with him in the back of his mind, knowing that this is going on, and now today the knock at the door, that's just so much to carry around as a person. My heart kind of feels bad for Chauncey, but gosh, this is just unbelievable, really.
You couldn't have said it better myself, Jackie. It is. It's unbelievable. I feel like I'm living in the twilight zone right now. Let's go out to Pat in Portland. Pat, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing and Chris Burkhardt. What's your takeaway from the news?
Well, I'm kind of surprised because I would have thought the FBI would have had more players in this, more people in the NBA, more people in sports on such a thing that they were promoting with this illegal gambling, and now that the mafia is involved. It just kind of surprises me there's only a few people in sports that are really involved with it. And to what degree, we don't know. I mean, they might have just been innocent bystanders, all for we know.
Well, that's quite possible, and that's why it's innocent until proven guilty. And I'm a big believer in due process for sure. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Any thoughts to add to that, Burkhardt?
No, there could be more. There's been speculation that there's more. There's a lot of names out there.
Well, the investigation's not over, right?
No,
They're still
just,
looking.
This is it right here. I will say this because I did think that social media instantly pointed out, like, oh, so there's possible evidence that people knew about this years ago. There was a video that circulated of a prominent poker player talking about these poker games with Chauncey 2 years ago. Not him talking about it 2 years ago. The video was there 2 years ago. And then people say, oh, the Blazers knew all this and they still signed him to an extension. There's no way the Blazers knew, because if the Blazers knew, there is no extension. Are the Blazers risking their organizational integrity just to sign the coach? And the answer is absolutely not. So I think the Blazers organization definitely didn't know what Chauncey was doing. And then, like your caller just said, maybe Chauncey didn't know the extent to which it was, but you also kind of knew that you were with bad actors, and you kind of are the company you keep sometimes.
Let's go to CC in Portland. CC, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's your takeaway on the Billups news?
I think it is questionable. First of all, you're right. You're innocent until proven guilty, but it seems like all the callers are suggesting that he did it. People gamble all the time. A lot of poker games happen at people's homes all the time. That's technically illegal. So I don't think we know the extent of it, and we need to be careful before we just start rushing to judgment. There's a lot of gambling that happens. And my question is, why, if this is what he's doing, Why them? Why now? In the same way, like they went after Martha Stewart, we know that everybody does insider trading. Why go after her? In the same way, why go after Chauncey and these guys when you know that there's a lot that's going on? And also, too, with the Department of Justice and that Cash Patel, you know those guys are corrupt anyway. So I don't really trust their judgment and how they do business. We see how things are operating in our political system now. They're no arbiters of truth and justice themselves with the way that they conduct business. So maybe they did do it. Maybe they're doing illegal gambling, or maybe they were gambling. Anybody that gambles outside the casino doing something illegal. So we know this happens all the time. We all have friends that have poker games and stuff going on at their house. So my question is why are you going after these guys, and why are you making such a big deal of it? I really question just the whole process, and I'm not saying that they did or didn't do it, but even if they did, I think it's really you got to look at the intent of why it is that they're going after them for something that a lot of people do. You look at Michael Jordan, you look at Charles Barkley, they on TV throwing around tens and thousands of dollars, gambling about something of who was the best player. They do that stuff all the time. Phil Mickelson, all these people, but yet you want to come after these guys. So what is it? So that's my question. Is like, I don't trust the whole thing because a lot of people are doing it. So why Chauncey and Terry Rozier now?
That's a terrific phone call. I understand what CC's saying there. It's like, hey, let's be patient and let the facts continue to roll out. The one thing we do know, Burkhart, is that this could be a product of, these big casinos now that sports gambling's been legalized and it's been turned over to the states, and they can decide as individual states whether or not they want to offer sports gambling. The one advantage to having legalized sports gambling now is that these sports leagues are now working directly with the gambling. And it could be that it started out as a illegal sports betting, and then when you start doing your investigation, you start tapping phones, you come across information, then it could turn over and spill into other areas where you uncover different things that are going on as part of that investigation. But the good news is with the legalization of sports gambling is that now this type of situation is brought to light instead of dealing with offshore gambling companies where this stuff might have been handled under wraps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's what tipped off the feds to Rozier was the unusual amount of bets on his prop bets that just came out of nowhere and then correlated with time he missed.
Which is a product of the casinos focusing on that information, and it flags it as suspicious, and they can work with the leagues to do their investigations to make sure that everything's above board.
Exactly. So it seems weird, but it is a good thing because it's legal is why you're seeing some of these things happen, because they're able to really have a paper trail.
All right. Chris Burkhart's here. Chad Doing with you. Your telephone number is 503-248-0620. I want to hear from you and your voice more than anything today. So I want your thoughts on the news. How do you read the situation? It is your show. You take it over. 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive. Hey, good job. All right, phone lines are lit up, and that's a beautiful thing. I want to hear your voice today. I need your reaction. And honestly, I think I can speak for Chris on this. This is not easy for me to talk about because I like Chauncey Billups and I love the Portland Trailblazers. And I was so happy with the work that the entire organization had done from the end of last season up until now. And so when you wake up this morning and you get the news, it's like someone had just drop kicked me right in the package. Like they just went speed bag on my satch. That's what I felt like. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, in a Twilight Zone? I thought my phone had gone nuclear. I thought someone died. Multiple missed phone calls. Anytime you have multiple missed calls and like a billion messages before like 6 a.m., that's not a good thing. It's not good.
It's funny because people were like, "Oh, I'm multiple in the text were like, sorry for texting you so early," and I'm just like, it doesn't matter because 15 other people did as well. But usually you wake up like you might have a notification or something. When it's nothing but texts and missed calls, yeah, the first thing is panic.
All right, this guy here's a great phone call. Let's go to Shane in Vancouver. Shane, appreciate the call, buddy. What's your takeaway on the news?
You know, it's one of those deals where whether you did it or not, don't put yourself in a position to be exposed, right? Integrity counts, and you got to protect yourself at all times. And if you're the Portland Trailblazers and you need a coach, it better be, you remember necessary roughness, you know, straight arrow Gennaro, the guy that never gets in trouble, the guy that's beyond reproach. This is the organization that has to have that kind of guy. And you cannot put the whole organization and everything you've been building at stake. You have to protect yourself and make good decisions.
I agree. And I agree with that. And I think anytime you hire a coach or a face of a franchise in any sport or company, you're expected to, you know, carry yourself in a certain way. And my dad used to always tell me that too. He's like, you are who you roll with. Didn't quite understand it at age 12, but now that I'm older, I understand exactly what he's talking about.
So I said, you're the company you keep. It's you know, guilty by association. Sometimes you got to be careful. It's like you're driving around town and someone cuts you off and you don't want to commit road rage because you're wearing the Rip City Radio logo on your chest. Sometimes you just got to be aware of who you're representing, you know?
I agree. That's why my buddy who worked for Via Communications, when he was in the work van, they always had that number on the back. How's my driving? The guys would always scuff out a few of the digits because, you know, sometimes things go sideways on the road.
We should put the phone number to a station on the back of your car just so people know what to call.
Yeah, have a problem, call 503-248-0620. Let's go to Danny in Damascus. Danny, I appreciate the call, buddy. What's your take on the news?
Hey, Chad. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here a little bit. It's been a while since I talked to you, but I just want to ditto what you said a little bit early. You know, I love Chauncey and I love the Blazers, and I think they got to give him his due day in court. But at the same time, I'm just really concerned at the fact the word Jailblazers is going to resurface.
Yeah, I think that's really the sensitive point, isn't it, Danny? You know, everything that Trailblazer fans have been through who have been here for 30, 40 years, the Jailblazer time frame in Trailblazer history, people are most sensitive to that because we became a laughingstock around the country for the actions of the players. That's really, people do not like that point in time in history for the franchise, and I understand it.
It was such a bad time in the history of the team. It's part of the reason that Brandon Roy is put on a pedestal.
Yeah, because he brought him out of it.
Brandon Roy was great. Do not get me wrong. I think he's one of the best to ever lace him up in Portland. But people attached to him, and whenever you talk, what made Brandon Roy great? Well, he was kind of, you know, the phoenix rising from the ashes that got us out of the Jailblazer era.
Yeah.
That's how important putting the Jailblazer era behind you was. So, yeah, just the idea of replicating that hurts a lot of Blazer fans.
Let's go to Salem. Justin, appreciate the phone call. Your takeaway on the Billups news.
Hey, you know, we all make mistakes, and we all get that concept. But, you know, Chauncey is, and should have been anyway, the moral compass for that entire team. You know, he's got a bunch of kids around him that are going to be millionaires or already are millionaires. And he needed to be a moral compass for them. He's the leader of the team. So I just you know, you said it earlier, you know, I felt gut punched, absolutely. I love the Blazers. I am in total shock that someone could make a decision. And I know we don't deal in the same world that these guys do because they are millionaires. And as one person said, when you call a timeout in the NBA, you're calling a timeout to tell a millionaire how to run his business. And I get that. But he was supposed to be able to relate to these players. And this is not what I want related to the players of the Portland Trailblazers.
Hey, Justin, that's a terrific phone call, my friend. I appreciate that. Let's go to Alex in Portland. Alex, my friend, what are your thoughts on the news that popped this morning?
You know, Chad, it blows my mind that it's such a reflection on certain parts of our culture today that are really having challenging times. Like these guys are willing to risk their careers and their reputation on something that, you know, would be equivalent to the amount of money that the guy that's cleaning the frickin' locker room, man. I don't understand where they just lose sight of reality so poorly that, I don't know, Chad, I mean, you have a little bit of experience with sports betting and gambling. Like, where do these guys who make literally hundreds of millions of dollars? I think Chauncey made 110 or 120 million in his playing and coaching career. Like, where is the thrill of betting on poker or betting on sports more important than the millions that you're making your day job? I don't get it.
Yeah, if you're a degenerate, Alex, and you are someone who's addicted to gambling, you throw any type of logic out the window. I mean, that's where I was at, where you just do whatever you can to get off. And it's the thrill of beating the system. It's the thrill of having the action. It's all of that.
It is. I'm not a big gambler, but I will sit on, like, the slot machine,
Yeah.
you know? You put in 20 and you start getting down and you're about down to your last roll and the machine knows it and you hit. Oh, I think I can keep playing.
I got this.
Then you ever hit the one big one and you're like, you know what? We're going to see where this goes. It does hit you and it's hard to stop.
You want to hang out another segment?
I'll hang out one more.
All right, Chris is going to hang out with me. Matt in Oregon City, Tony and Boring. Stay right there. We'll get to your phone calls next. And that's what today is all about. We want to hear from you on the news that broke this morning that Coach Billups had been arrested in connection with a wide-ranging investigation into fixed poker games and illegal sports betting. He's been arraigned. We'll hear from Sean Hiking coming up at 5:20. He covered that event. The Godfather, Dwight James, at 4:20. He'll give us some insight on Tiago Splitter as the interim head coach. But your phone calls are the priority, 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing. All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 4 o'clock. More of your phone calls coming up on the Rip City Drive. We got shocking news this morning. Blazers coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and Cavs player and assistant Damon Jones arrested in connection with a wide-ranging investigation into illegal sports gambling and rigged poker games backed by the mafia. Billups has been arraigned in Portland. Our Trailblazers insider Sean Highkin covered that. He'll join the show coming up at 5:20. The Godfather Dwight James at 4:20. The Trailblazers have announced that Tiago Splitter will step in as interim head coach with Billups on leave. The Trailblazers back in action tomorrow night. They're going to host the Golden State Warriors. Tip from Moda at 7. I'll be live with the Rip City Drive from Moda at 3. Chris Burkhardt with Blazers Game Day at 5. Thursday Night Football on Prime. Vikings at the Chargers. Los Angeles favored by 3. World Series tomorrow. Toronto and L.A., Dodgers and Blue Jays. Snell and Savage, your pitching matchup. First pitch at 5 on Fox. All right, we want your reaction. 503-248-0620. Chris Burkhardt's here. Chad Doing with you. Federal agents arrested Trailblazers coach Chauncey Billups early this morning as prosecutors accused him of participating in rigged poker games, using his celebrity status as a former player to attract gamblers to play in underground games fixed by criminal conspirators. Also, Billups, in this report from the prosecutors today, it looks like could have been sharing information about lineups that he was going to play before they became public so that people would have information to go and place successful sports bets. 503-248-0620. In the meantime, Tiago Splitter has been named as the interim. We got more insight on Tiago Splitter as a coach coming up at 4:20 with the Godfather Dwight James. Chris Burkhardt is here. And really, for Chris and I, we're just trying to process the news that went down. And for me, it sucks, man. I'm no different than any of you. I'm a Trailblazer fan, and I want what's best for this franchise. And I'm also someone that really is fond of Chauncey Billups. And this was an offseason of great news, Burkhardt. So many good things going into the opener last night. And the opener, even though it was a loss, a lot of good things coming out of that opener with the way they played and competed in that game. And then you wake up to this. As a fan, man, it sucks.
It's a bit of a downer. I thought last night's game was great. And on the fifth quarter, we were talking about just how, they lost the game, but for 3.5 quarters, the defense was moving, the offense was moving, guys were locked in. As I told you earlier, Anthony Edwards after the game talking about how, you know what, you're not coming to Portland getting easy wins anymore. That team guards you 94 feet. They're switching, they're pestering, they're making you work, and that's coming from one of the best scorers in the game. You're like, yeah, I feel good about this. You wake up the next day and boom, gut punch. One game into an 82-game season, and you're left sitting here on the front porch going, where is everything? Like everything's blown away in the tornado. I need to figure this out.
Yeah, so many great things, and a lot of credit to the Trailblazers organization for the work they put in during the course of the offseason with the drafting of young Hansen. The trade that brought in Drew Holiday. We saw the extensions given out to Shaden Sharp and Tamani Kamara. And then, of course, the return of Damian Lillard. So many good things. I mean, the pep rally for Dame was awesome. A lot of good vibes going into the season. But here's what I know about Blazer fans and Rip City is like, we'll get through this. Yeah, it's tough, but it's a coach. They'll move forward. They'll continue to play. Players are very resilient and will bounce back. And so we'll get through the difficult times right now, and we'll come out on the other end of it. That's what we do. We always rise above. You can share your thoughts. Hit me up, 360-281-5473. If you want to text me, you can call the show. We want to hear your voice, 503-248-0620. Drew in Sherwood hits us up and says, rough day, Chad. Obviously, there's speculation, but when you're an addict, you can get into trouble real quick. This feels like these guys got into the pockets of people you don't want to owe favors to. When that happens, their method of quote, collecting aren't great. If I were to speculate, two things happen. Addiction to gambling. Number two, getting into the pockets of the wrong people. That's from Drew in Sherwood. I appreciate your thoughts, Drew. Thank you.
Well, that's what the report was with Jonte Porter, right? And why he got banned for fixing games. He was reeled in to fix those games to help pay off gambling debt that he had. When you're that text, when you're reeled in, you're reeled in.
Duke chimes in and says, "What the hell? Right when the Blazers had hope. Are you kidding me? Unfortunately, with Dame and Billups being so close, you know what's going to happen. Why else would allegedly not want to be the coach? He has to be involved. I pray it's not true. Make them uncomfortable. Chauncey Billups must have been talking about us fans. If I get a chance, I'll call in after 5. Rip people off, City." That's what Duke UPS, my guy, had to say. Let's go back out to the phones. We want to hear your voice. 503-248-0620. Let's go to Oregon City. Matt, appreciate the phone call. You're up. Share your thoughts on the news, my friend.
Hey, Chad. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, my phone call is really two parts. First part is the basketball side. I mean, the brand of basketball we watched last night was awesome. Picking up full court.
Agreed.
The offense was moving. It was great. And, the trouble with that is, can Thiago Splitter get the same buy-in? He might be able to run the same system, but to get guys, grown men who are paid millions of dollars, to pick up full court on defense is an easy task. So we'll see if he can do that. On the Billups front, on the case, I mean, some callers have called in and make it sound like he was, been playing poker with his boys in his basement and he got arrested. No, he was tied in with the Italian crime mob and was using his likeness to bring people in and take their money. And then people say, oh, well, maybe he didn't know. You didn't know that everybody you brought in lost money? I mean, it's a course of $7 million over the last 2 years. Everybody you bring in, they're losing, man. I don't know what's going on. So obviously knew. The only question is, did he get honeypotted? Did he get blackmailed? He needs to go from big shot Billups to big snitch Billups if he wants any hope.
I appreciate that phone call. And that's really the ultimate question, right? What did Billups know and what was he aware of?
Yeah, I think he knew. I don't know. But it's if you're involved with this, you got to have an idea of what's going on. To the first comment that caller made, though, I mentioned it last night on social because I caught it, and I feel like it holds a little more weight this morning than it did yesterday. But I think a lot of people remember that corner three that Donovan Clingan hit there late in the third, and the place erupted. When the teams go to the bench, first person off the bench, smile on his face, slapping Donovan on the shoulders and getting him hyped up was Thiago Splitter.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it stood out to me in the game. Like, look at that. First guy off the bench congratulating him is Thiago, a guy that I'm rooting for. And now he's put in a position that he has to lead this team. So that call about getting buy-in and stuff, I think there's a level of respect among people in this locker room for Thiago Splitter already. And I think he'll be able to get that buy-in.
All right. Shacker would like to know if Coach Billups is going to donate all of his Trailblazer gear to the local thrift shop the way Jonathan Smith did with the Beavers. I don't know the answer to that yet, but I appreciate you wondering.
He's got some cool gear. I want the heads up.
Let's go back out to the phones. Tony, my man Tony and Boring. Tony, your reaction and thoughts on what we found out this morning.
Well, I just found out that Shacker's about the same size as Chauncey Billups. Oh my God, dude! That's just. I've said it so many times. Like, every time something's going good for the Trailblazers, there's bad news right around the corner. It's usually an injury, not something like this with the FBI and investigation. I'm just kind of like the guy just called in Oregon City. It was Drew. Like, everything that he was saying, that's basically what I was going to say. Like, we've been waiting for this team to finally buy in. Like, we've dealt with Chauncey Billups, for all years. Kind of, went through all these crappy seasons to finally get this team and to play, and have veterans picking up full court and play defense like he wants. And then after the first game, he just gets ripped from us. Like, dude, does it really get any worse than that? I don't know. Like, we come off the best summer. Like, everything's just going great, and a big kick in the package. Like, just about 25 years removed from the Jailblazers era, and I don't know what this is going to be called. Hopefully, it's just him, just the one guy. So maybe that's not going to come to light. The bad thing is, dude, like you're saying, like, you liked him, and I liked him too, but like, this, and people are thinking maybe, wait till, until proven guilty. You don't go and put on a big production like that and arrest 34 people and someone of his stature. Not to mention he's involved in both ends of it. You know, and it just means he's a bad guy. Like, it's a really bad guy to draw people in just to rob them of their money, dude. That's just, you might, you know, a little different than, you know, sticking a gun to their chest and telling them to hand it over, but you're not far off from that person. One other thing, though, you guys, everybody's kind of wondering, like, why do these guys do this? Why do they need, you know, they got the money. Why do they have to do this? Well, a lot of these guys have side women, man, and side women cost a lot of money. This kind of money is undocumented money, and it can go to, provide for those women. So I don't know for sure. Just an idea I came up with. Maybe last night was ridiculous. You guys got to get to talk to that guy because that guy's going to change the NBA. Thanks.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Tony. Good phone call. I don't have any experience with, quote, side women, so I can't relate to that type of life. Appreciate that, Tony. Let's go out to Richard in Lake O. Richard, appreciate the phone call. You were at the game last night. Your reaction to everything?
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, you go to the game all excited, season's just starting, you rev up, you get in there. The place is electric. Those new boards are phenomenal that they put in the arena.
And then Dame gets announced and people go bonkers.
Bonkers. And even when Young Hansen got there, the place went bonkers. I mean, the city was so charged, so ready, but having Dame back in the building, the energy, and then, oh my God, they come out and play the way we've been wanting to see. They were just amazing. The defense was awesome. The ball movement was awesome. Yeah, did I leave bummed that they lost? Sure, but I actually left with not the typical, I'm bummed that they lost, more so optimistic for this season when I saw the product on the court. Then I get up this morning to go to the airport to get on a plane, and what do I hear? And I'm like, wow, are you kidding me? It's like you said it. You said it right, Chad. It was like a gut punch to the middle, or to the, to the other region,
Yeah,
the nether
acorns,
region.
the nether region.
Exactly, the acorns. And then I've been catching up on media today, and of course it's all over every national news. And when you see things like, NBA coach helped the mafia steal money, it's just like, it sucks. And then I heard about Tiago Splitter, and I thought, you know what, if there's a silver lining to this, because I saw the same thing at the game last night. Tiago was in it, man. He was high-fiving. He was excited. The dude's young. He brings energy. Maybe this will just turn into the feel-good story of the year by the time the season's over, right?
Yeah.
Bad story turned good. With a guy like Tiago, the team still comes out. They're professional. They'll play. That's my optimistic side, is this will still turn positive and will at the end of the season, well, before that, be saying goodbye to another era in a coach, but maybe it'll open the door to something new. And the last thing I guess I'd say is I hope it does not interfere with new ownership. I hope they don't, I don't think it matters to them. They probably would have brought their own boy in anyway, but yeah, I'm still going to be a bit optimistic on the future. Anyway, thanks to dude. I appreciate you.
All right, man. You got it. There you go. There's Richard in Lake Go. Let's go back out to the phones. 503-248-0620. Let's go out to Eric, who's in Carlton. Eric, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's your reaction to the news?
Oh, man, as a Knicks fan hearing the news, I thought this is the most Knicks-like thing that I've heard. And I'm grateful not to be the laughingstock of the NBA this morning. But I'd also like to add that I've been calling for a few years now since I moved out here to say that Chauncey's not only a bad coach, but historically bad, and the dude's a clown. And this is going to end up being a good thing for the Blazers because I watched that guy tank Scoot's development, and I don't think the issues were Scoot. I followed that guy since he was a kid. I think it was all on Chauncey. He doesn't know how to coach up guards. And I'll leave it at that, man. The guy's a clown. Good riddance.
All right, there you go. And you're not the only one that feels that way. Let's go out to Brendan in Portland. Brendan, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What are your thoughts on the news?
Hey, Rev Chat. I just wanted to say, this goes back a long time. If you look at when Billups was originally applying for that coaching job, the secondary candidate was Becky Hammond, who I thought was a much better candidate, and obviously I understand we've never had a woman head coach, but even at the time, if you look back on past history, Billups had been found civilly liable for a gang rape. Yeah, it was never a criminal charge, but okay, neither was OJ. OJ got off on criminal charges, but had to pay civilly. Like the fact that we ever hired a guy in the first place that civilly made a payment for a gang rape is disgusting. I think that, no matter how we think that he was a coach is irrelevant. I think the fact that this happened shows us that probably, as many callers have said, he was probably kind of buried in these gambling and or sports betting endeavors with the mafia, or else why even risk your career to get involved with that? That being said, I just wanted to say, Splitter, maybe not so bad, but that being said, we have a guy on the bench that can't play that's making $15+ million this year. They call him Dame Dollar. I say, hey, let Dame Dollar come in as interim head coach, and let's see what happens. I can promise you this. As much as Splitter may or may not be a good head coach, I can guarantee you that Dame is more invested in the future success of the Blazers than Splitter or anyone else. Thanks, Chad.
You got it, Brendan. I appreciate that. I know they had talked to Becky Hammond, I believe, but I think Mike D'Antoni was the second candidate in line who impressed in his interview. So I think D'Antoni was close, but the job ended up going to Chauncey Billups because of his relationship and connection with Neil Olshey at the time.
Yeah, Becky Hammond, kind of right place, right time to be with the Aces, flip that thing, and right when the WNBA just starts getting all those eyeballs, she's done a phenomenal job. I was on Team D'Antoni myself.
Let's go to Ray in Vancouver. Ray, appreciate the call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's your reaction?
Hey, guys. Thinking about the timing of this whole situation. The reality is could have did it yesterday and probably, still got the same effect. But, just listening to Sirius FM NBA radio all day, it's kind of interesting that I think he's accused of doing the card games in 2019. Is that what the paperwork said? He wasn't even here. And then in 2023, maybe letting out the information about different players not playing. That all be brought up in court. The thing that surprises me is that a lot of people who hit Chauncey, they ready to throw him under the bus anyway. And then those that supported Chauncey are just saying, let's wait and see. So right now, it's about the season. Let's see what happens. Hopefully Splitter will be able to keep the ship right. They looked great last night. I wasn't there, but watched on TV. And we'll just go from there. But it's just comical that right now this is the type of things that the government is involved in, and you got so much other stuff going on, especially people not getting paid because of the shutdown and all other types of things. But, hey, it's man's government. That's what we know. So we'll see what takes place. Also wanted to bring out, I guess, on this same day, there was a pardon of a billionaire who did the same thing, did money laundering or fraud, and he got pardoned by the president. So it's just interesting that these are the type of things that take place to try and keep under cover what's going on, behind closed doors. So.
All right, Ray, I appreciate the phone call. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Burkhardt, I'll give you the final thought before you take off, my friend.
Final thought. It's unfortunate. I get that it's a gut punch, but I would remind you that there's still a ball game tomorrow, and there's going to be a team that needs you to root. There's going to be a coach that didn't do this stuff, comes in with a clean slate.
Yep.
And sometimes the team, the organization, those players, they need your support more than ever. Know that you love them regardless of what, crazy actions some other people may do.
Well said. We have to support the team. We got to get behind them right now. They're going to need us, especially with the Warriors coming to town. I want more of your phone calls. We're going to talk with the Godfather, Dwight James. He is up next, and I'll continue to get your voices on the air. Great phone calls today. I really appreciate it. You got the Rip City Drive.
machines. Yeah.
All right, our next guest, you can read him at dwightjanes.substack.com. And of course, he's the godfather of Dwight Janes, and he joins us once again here on the Rip City Drive. Now, Godfather, you've been doing this in this area longer than anybody. And so I asked this question seriously. Is the news that broke today in regard to Trailblazers coach Chauncey Billups the craziest story you've seen in your time?
Yeah, I would say so, Chad. It's kind of the most unbelievable story. I heard about it early this morning, and it's like, nah, I'm going to go check this. This can't be right. This can't be true. And yeah, I guess it's true. And it's going to take a long time, but the story will eventually come out, and we'll all know. But I'm still sort of bewildered by the whole thing. It's kind of unbelievable.
Yeah, it's truly unbelievable. So what do you think is the right way? I think people are stunned by the news. I guess my press conference, which was bizarre, and we got all of the allegations out. And I guess my big concern for Coach Billups, not just his involvement in the underground poker games where they were fixed, according to the FBI, to defraud people out of money, but also he's known as the eighth co-conspirator, which was identified as someone who played during his time span when he was a player, that lived in Portland, that may have been getting information about the Blazers before it was released officially to where people could place bets. That would seem pretty concerning on the sports side for Billups.
Well, let me take these one at a time, Chad. First of all, the poker thing. This is really interesting to me. This was supposedly in 2019, and I'm trying to get my arms around the idea that he would have been a face card. In other words, a celebrity big enough to draw people into the game. I mean, in 2019, are you saying to me, I wouldn't normally play high-stakes poker, but for the chance to play poker with Chauncey Billups, I think I'll go play. I mean, no offense to Chauncey, but there's a lot bigger face cards you could get than him. I mean, you talk about gamblers. Is Michael Jordan playing? Is Tiger Woods playing? Is Phil playing? Who's playing in this? And second of all, there's a lot of those people don't understand these illegal poker games, so-called. And Michael Shacker will know who I'm talking about. We both know a guy who was a professional poker player for a while. He played in the World Series of Poker, but he told me once, he said, I quit playing in it because you can make so much more money. All the idiots are in town who think they're good poker players and they want to enter the World Series. So you go around to the hotels and you play these private games against these guys and you just take their money because they can't play anyway. And those underground, games have been going on for years because if you win the money, guess what? The government doesn't know you won it and you don't have to pay tax on it like you do if you win in a casino. So that's huge for these guys who make their living gambling. So anyway, that out of the way. I think it's possible, Chad, that he was paid money to go as a celebrity to play in a poker game and not really know that people were being scammed. Now, I don't know that that was the case or not, but I think that's possible. I don't know. Chauncey's not a friend of mine. I know him. He's an acquaintance. I've always taken him to be a pretty square shooter and a good guy. I don't know. I hope he's not guilty for his family and for him. But I don't know about that. And I think it's always a good idea to keep in mind people are innocent until proven guilty. And they must have evidence. That's what happens. But the mere fact he was paid to play, You know how NBA people are and celebrity people. They're paid to do all sorts of things, whether it's make an appearance at somebody's car dealership or go have dinner in a certain place, just a meet and greet somewhere. They get paid big money to show up, and it's not beyond my capabilities of thinking that somebody would have paid him to go play poker, especially if he's a poker player anyway, and I don't know if he is, but go play poker with a bunch of people and be a drawing card for other poker players. Okay, that takes care of the first part. Second part, they're talking about him tipping people off that people aren't on the team are not going to be playing in a certain game. Well, okay. These are years where this team was trying to lose games. You could have called me, and I would have said, well, I'm guessing about 5 of their healthy players aren't going to play tonight, or if they do play, they'll take them out at halftime because they're trying to lose, and everybody around knew they were tanking. They were trying to lose games, and that's part of the problem with tanking. You're trying to lose, and there's something ethically wrong with that. And now, excuse me, a coach gets in trouble for tipping people off that guys aren't going to play when anybody following the team could see this guy, and this guy. They haven't played in 2 weeks. They're probably not going to play tonight because they might help them win. So they're not going to let that guy play. So anyway, that's my take on those things. He wasn't really indicted on the charge of being the co-conspirator. It's mainly just been the poker game. So I don't know what to think, Chad, and I'm going to wait before I condemn anybody. I'm going to wait and see what comes out in trials. I'm sure he'll have good representation legally, and we'll see what happens. But traditionally, South District in New York, they don't lose many cases. He'll need a high-caliber, high-priced attorney to defend himself. But we'll see. And traditionally, too, the feds get a lot of people to turn on other people by shortening their sentences or forgiving their sentences. That'll happen, too. So there'll be snitches. There'll be people who flip over for the feds. It's going to be a nasty thing. And the other thing, it takes a long time. They don't proceed with a great deal of haste.
Well, it sounds to me like you think the charges against Billups for the rigged poker games is pretty flimsy. Is that your read on it?
Well, Chad, I'm not saying that because I don't really know what they have. I haven't seen their evidence, and I haven't heard his defense. Yeah. I'm just saying I'm not going to jump to the conclusion that he did this. I don't think that's fair to him, and I would say the same thing about people who are accused of other crimes.
Yeah.
Innocent till proven guilty is the way we live in this country, and I hate to see him get condemned by a lot of people for something that no one has proved he did.
Yeah, and that's the heartbreaking part for me because I'll be honest, Godfather, I like Chauncey. I really do. I think he's very approachable. I've enjoyed my conversations with him, and I've watched him grow as a coach, so I really do like him a lot, and I hope that, through the court of law, he's able to prove his innocence. I'm wondering, too, with this investigation, with the legalization of sports gambling now, as you know, Godfather, these casinos, they have a lot of power, and they're working in connection with the leagues to make sure that they keep everything above board and can identify anything that might be suspicious. So I'm wondering if it starts out as like a sports gambling investigation, but through maybe phone taps or other information that's uncovered, they stumble onto this poker scheme too. I wonder if it started there and then it becomes more widespread.
Yeah, I think that's essentially probably what happened. And they start flipping people and they start squealing. So, the way that's in the street terms. And a lot of people get involved, and some of it's probably true and some of it isn't because people are trying to get a break cut to them on their sentencing or whatever. And so I just think it's really tough to know at this point what's really going on. And look, I'm not telling people how to feel or how to think, but I would just encourage people to give all sides a fair opportunity. I watched their press conference this morning, Chad, and I think you saw it too. I was just really unimpressed with everybody from the FBI on down to the Southern District of New York with the way they patted themselves on the back about arresting people and charging people. They just made it sound like they had just done the biggest thing ever done, and this was the greatest thing. And, you know, yeah, I guess they're protecting people who are gambling illegal in illegal games who didn't pay their taxes on whatever they won, or, you know, they're trying to get away with something by playing an illegal poker game, so you protected them. And then, I don't know, people are taking inside information on NBA games, you protected them, and I don't know. I hate to see people patting themselves on the back so heartily for just doing their jobs. And kind of with what's going on in the country today, I wish they'd turn their attention to people in the House and Senate and what they're doing with insider trading instead of turning it around. I think it was the director of the FBI that said this is the NBA's version of insider trading. Well, how about going after the real inside trading? What do you think about that?
Yeah, $7 million's a drop in the hat to Nancy Pelosi, isn't it?
Yeah. A whole lot of millionaires who weren't millionaires when they got into office have all of a sudden turned into multimillionaires.
Yeah, it's all legitimate, Godfather, of course.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right. Well, there might be a silver.
I don't know, John.
There might be a silver lining here, and you've had a chance to talk to some people around the league. But I'm already a big fan of Tiago Splitter in terms of his reputation and the work he's done thus far with the Blazers. What are you hearing on Tiago Splitter and what type of coach he might be?
Well, he was terrific in Europe, and he is the one that I think that he was hired to install his European system along with Chauncey Billups. Billups wanted to do the same kind of thing that Splitter was doing in Paris with defensive pressure, the offensive running and fast-paced game, and then the whole practice thing of overloading your players so that they can handle more than they will have to handle in a game. All of that is part of his philosophy. I heard nothing but great things about Splitter all summer long with what was being said about him. In fact, David Kahn told me he's going to be an NBA coach real soon. Now, I don't think David thought it would happen this soon, but he is going to be a head coach, and I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps the job. We'll see how it goes for him. This is kind of tough to take over a team you're not necessarily ready to take over. But, you know, it's funny. The least affected by all this will probably be the players. They just move on. They're professionals. They're going to hear probably the same things they heard before, but from a different voice. And I don't expect it to be a distraction or to disrupt what they're trying to do at all. I would think we'll see much of the same thing. And what we saw last night was good for the most part. They played well. They played hard. The system they're using is going to work. They just ran into a buzzsaw with Edwards, who, you know, hit 40 on him. And if he didn't hit 40, if he'd hit 35, Portland would have won the game. And so I think they're on the right track here, and I think that track will continue under Tiago Splitter.
Have you ever been to in your life, have you ever witnessed or been a part of one of those underground poker games?
No. You know, I'm not a poker player, Chad. I kind of learned my lesson on that in college when I was one of the fish that was led into a game. And before I knew it, I was losing more money than I had in my pocket. So I just shied away from those. I don't even really understand poker the way it's played now compared to the old days with 5-card stud and draw poker. It's a lot different. And I don't gamble at all on sports because it's just been part of the thing. When you're covering sports, you don't bet on sports. And so I've stayed away from that too. And we think alike on the whole gambling issue, Chad. I'm just against making it so easy for people. I think it is an addiction. And I think at its worst, it's worse than a drug addiction. I think it's ruined people's lives for decades now. And some people can handle it, some can't. And so you just have to be so careful about making it too easy for people to gamble. And I think when you can do it on your phones, they give you all these deals like the drug dealers do. Yeah, if you bet $10, we'll give you an extra 100 if you win. Well, yeah, that sounds like the guy who says, I'll give you the first bag for free, and after that, you can pay for it if you want it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of, back in the old days when I was growing up, there was no porn on the internet, right? You had to go into like the local, food mart, and you had to, wander to a weird corner of the establishment behind those shaded like plastic dividers, and everyone knew where you're at and what you were looking at. So you had to go out of your way to get it. It wasn't as easy. And I look at this gambling the same way. Before, if you wanted to place bets, you had to go to Vegas, and you had to be in a sports book or in the casino.
Yeah.
But once it's readily available at the palm of your hand, it becomes widespread and so much easier for people to get involved, which is fine. But what about the people that easily get hooked? And what my fear is with the widespread, gambling now with the internet and on the phones and with it being legalized is that you have these people that will start innocently but quickly get hooked. And before they know it, 6 months in, they're thousands of dollars in debt and facing difficulties for themselves and their family. That's the danger I see. It's the same thing in the same way I look at the legalization of marijuana is you open it up to people who are younger. Well, does it become a gateway drug for other things? What other issues does it lead to? It's a concern. It's something that I am worried about when it comes to those type of things being a little more easily available for everyone.
And Chad, with the gambling, more than anybody. People should listen to you. You learned it the hard way. You're very transparent with saying all about what happened with you.
It's powerful.
And I think people would be wise to listen to your lesson. I mean, these same people are carrying around a casino in their pocket.
Yeah.
That's basically
Literally
what that phone is now. It's a casino in your pocket. That's a lot different than you carry. You had to get hooked the old-fashioned way, with a or whatever it was. But it's a lot easier to get hooked now than it was then.
Well, final thought, Godfather, for the team, right? Like players, they've got Tiago Splitter now. They've got a good team with some good leadership. Like most players, they're used to dealing with, changes and adversity. Like the players should be fine moving forward, right? Like this is a disruption, but I expect them, like most pros, they're so good at being able to compartmentalize and just focus on the task at hand. That's kind of how I see it. What do you think?
I think that's true, Chad. It's like you and me, you might get a different boss. All of a sudden somebody, gets fired or retires or whatever. Now you got a different boss, but your job's the same.
Yeah.
And so you try to get along with a new boss. Sometimes that new boss doesn't like you. Maybe he puts you on waivers. But, it's the same thing, really. And I think you won't see a lot of changes made with the Blazers, except for maybe they'll be even more intense or play with more intensity than they did before, because I know how serious this is with Splitter and how successful he was at getting his team in Europe to play such a fast-paced game and a physical game, which, watching that game last night, Chad, and I haven't had a chance to even write about last night's game yet, of course, but man, they're not calling fouls anymore unless you're a shooter. They're still protecting the shooter. But other than that, man, there's fouls all over the court, and they're just not getting called. So you better be strong, fit, ready to play that game. If you're going to shy away from contact, it's no place for you to be.
Was that a push-off on Ant?
Yeah, but, who's calling that? There's a whole bunch of stuff that didn't get called, and it was unfortunate at the time of game. That was a crucial part of the game, and it should have been called, but it wasn't. And that wasn't exactly a first-class NBA officiating crew they sent out last night either. And you had Leon Wood, who's been in the league about 40 years officiating. He was a pretty good college basketball player in his day.
Yeah.
But he's been a lousy official for years. He was the number 3 official on that crew last night, and he's the most veteran guy in the league almost. So that kind of tells you what's going on with the league's officials right now.
Yeah, it's not good. Well, you got to read him.
No.
I love all forms of The Godfather, but in written form, he is at his best. Check him out, dwightjames.substack.com. Thanks for your time, Godfather. I appreciate you helping navigate through this messy situation.
Always a pleasure, Chad, and I'm sure it's not the last time we'll be talking about it.
I would guess not. We'll talk soon, buddy. There you go. The Godfather, Dwight Jaynes. 503-24. Shacker's making me laugh right now. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I didn't short, though. Promise you, Shacker. All right, we'll come back. I want more of your phone calls, 503-248-0620. Your reaction to the news this morning that broke with Coach Billups. And then Sean Hyken, who was at the arraignment for Coach Billups, will join us coming up at 5:20 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's go back out to the phones. Telephone number 503-248-0620. Want your reaction to the news that went down today. I thought The Godfather was terrific today. He's always good, and, of course, I love Dwight, but he was extra spot on today. Nice work, Godfather. I appreciate you. Let's go to Dan in Portland. Dan, I appreciate the phone call, buddy. What was your reaction to the news we got this morning with Coach Billups?
I thought the whole thing was just stupid, if you ask me. Johnson, he was okay in Detroit as a player and, a popular point guard, but I thought he was wrong fit for Portland, especially following Scott's. What's your reaction?
Well, I'm stunned. I was shocked, and I like Coach Billups, and more importantly, I'm a Blazer fan, so I want the franchise to do well. And so many great things had happened throughout the course of the offseason. So when I woke up this morning and saw the news, I felt demoralized. I'm like, come on, man, not now when so many good things are happening, Dan.
Yeah, bro. Especially after a Blazer loss, I didn't even check my emails or nothing, or didn't go on any social media until about 2:00 this afternoon. And lo and behold, Tony Billups got arrested for what he did. I don't know what he did. You don't know what he did. But you know what? It just leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. For one thing, I love Tiago Splitter. Wasn't he on the San Antonio Spurs?
He was, yes.
Yeah. Give me a little bit of pops in my life.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying
He played under Pops, right?
Yeah, he played under Coach Pop. Yeah, so he's been around some great coaches.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he's the right fit in Portland.
Well, he could be, Dan. I'm telling you, I think he's going to have a chance to showcase that. I'm excited about Tiago Splitter. I think the Blazers, we'll find out, but he very well could be a potential budding superstar in the coaching ranks. Let's go to Mark in Beaverton. Mark, I appreciate your call. What's on your mind following the news that broke this morning?
Well, hey, Chad, thanks for taking my call, and likewise with Mr. Dwight James. Hey, as opposed to the previous caller, my wife and I were talking about the game last night. I don't know, it must have been about 5:30 this morning, and, it came right across the wire right then. It was just like, what? So, thoughts, and I'll just take them on the air. Going down the road, let's say Chauncey gets convicted of his alleged crimes, what happens with his induction into the Hall of Fame? Is that going to be tainted? And where do we go with others, I'm sure, that are involved that may or may not surface? Anyways, it's just a shame if the average person had a minute fraction of what these professional athletes, coaches have, we would never think of doing anything else to make any side money, but poor decision making. I'll take thoughts on the air. Thanks, Jeff.
No, you got to appreciate it, Mark. I think it depends. If he is found guilty of, providing information before it was made public to assist in, illegal sports bets or successful sports bets based on that information, I mean, those are the type of things that could put you in jeopardy with the Hall of Fame. There's no question about it. But we have to wait and see how the case plays out. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Blazers going to be back in action tomorrow, taking on Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Tip-off at 7. And I'll be live at Moda Center starting at 3. We have Blazer Game Day with Chris Burkhart, which will be at 5. Sean Hyken is going to join us coming up at 5:20. And I've got a pair of tickets for Adam Sandler. We're going to give those away coming up at 5 o'clock. He's going to be at Moda Center on October 28th. Rod Stewart. I have to give Shacker some credit. His musical selections have been decent today. Nice work, my friend.
You think Dwight appreciate the Johnny Cash?
He did.
First time ever on this show.
I like Johnny Cash. I like Rod Stewart, too. I don't like the rumors. Two people that there was always rumors circulating around from my childhood involving Rod Stewart and Richard Gere. I don't know if those rumors are true or not, but it always comes to mind when I hear Rod Stewart.
Well, the National Enquirer debunked both rumors.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. The people in the emergency room used a fake name. So, Rod Stewart, Richard Gere is connected to the story, but not the Rod Stewart or the Richard Gere.
Thank you for clearing that up. Where were you at like 30 years ago when I needed that information? And who would have thought the National Enquirer could clear something up like that? Appreciate that. Some guys do have all the luck. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. We'll talk with Sean Hyken at 5:20, and I've got a pair of tickets for Adam Sandler. Not now, Bobby. Now's not the time. We'll give those away coming up next. All right, 5 o'clock. We got some wild news this morning. Blazers coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and Cavs player and assistant Damon Jones arrested poker games backed by the Mafia. Billups was arraigned today. Poker games backed by the Mafia. Billups was arraigned today. Sean Hyken, our Trailblazer insider, was on the scene for that. He'll join the show coming up at 5:20. Tiago Splitter will step in as interim head coach of the Blazers with Billups on leave. And Portland's going to be back in action tomorrow night. The Golden State Warriors will be in town at Moda. Tip-off at 7. I'll be live with the Rip City Drive at 3. Chris Burkhart will have Blazers game day at 5. We have Thursday Night Football coming up on Prime. Vikings at the Chargers. LA favored by 3. World Series Game 1 tomorrow. Dodgers and Blue Jays from Toronto. Snell and Savage, your pitching matchup. Sean Hyken at 5:20. Adam Sandler tickets coming at you next. All right, we have a pair of tickets to give away. Adam Sandler's coming to Moda Center on the 28th. I have secured my tickets. I know Shacker secured his tickets earlier. And we want you to go. We love Adam Sandler. Not now, Bobby. Now's not the time.
Maybe he'll play this song.
Yeah, he might play this one. All right, there's Adam Sandler. Man, pot pies, I used to love those when I was younger. My grandma would get them for me when I'd be out visiting grandma's house. But the problem is they were so difficult to make because you had to sit them in the oven for like 45 minutes to an hour. And you had to be careful because they'd easily burn. And sometimes you would get part of the pot pie that was hot and the other part that was not hot. It was very difficult. All right. Telephone number is 503-248-0620. We'll take caller 30 right now at 503-248-0620. Caller 30, fire away. Caller 30 will get a pair of tickets to see Adam Sandler live at Moda Center coming up on the 28th at Moda Center. Call now. I want to hear from a Sandler fan. 503-248-0620. Yes, line them up. And you can go see Adam Sandler live in person at Moda Center coming up on the 28th. All right, a couple of things I want you to hear from the press conference that I thought was interesting and a little bit bizarre because it felt like the FBI might have been patting themselves on the back a little bit too much. Somewhat weird, and they had a lot of puns in there too, which was a bit odd. But here's Kash Patel at his open of the press conference today. Let's take a listen to some of this.
I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families. And you'll hear more about those details today. The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation. And we could not have done it without our interagency partners that are before us today. The NYPD, HSI, and teams of law enforcement officials from around the country made this day possible. It takes a team to bring this kind of justice, sweeping justice, into the halls of the United States courtrooms, where our brave United States attorney has led this prosecution. It takes courageous prosecutors to stand before you and say, we will not allow this kind of illicit activity to happen, not only at the national sporting level, but also where it hides in La Casa Nostra. And when these two collided together, they perpetrated a fraud that is historic in terms of not just money, but the scheme and the deceit that they utilize to steal and swindle people from money, to include crypto fraud. This is an operation that showcases to you that under President Trump's administration, there is no room for any type of criminal behavior, be it on the world's largest stage or in the back rooms of tiny parlors where card games are being played.
All right, there's Kash Patel. Here's Joseph Nacella sharing some specifics on the case.
Now, I would like to turn to the other case, United States versus Aiello, the rigged poker game case. Beginning as early as 2019, the defendants in this case orchestrated a scheme to use wireless cheating technology to run rigged poker games across the United States, including in the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan. The scheme targeted victims known as, quote, fish, who were often lured to participate in these rigged games by the chance to play alongside former professional athletes who were known as, quote, face cards. The so-called face cards included the defendant Chauncey Billups, who at the time of the scheme was a former NBA player and is currently the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and also Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach. What the victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam. Once the game was underway, the defendants fleeced the victims out of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars per game. The defendants used a variety of very sophisticated cheating technologies, some of which were provided by other defendants in exchange for a share of the profits from the scheme. For example, they used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator.
That's like some James Bond stuff right there. Here's Joseph Nacella also talking about the second indictment.
The second indictment involves 31 defendants alleged to have participated in a nationwide scheme to rig illegal poker games. These defendants, which include former professional athletes, used high-tech cheating technology to steal millions of dollars from victims in underground poker games that were secretly fixed. The games in the New York area were backed by the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families of La Cosa Nostra. While the cases are separate, there are 3 overlapping defendants charged in both cases: Damon Jones, Eric Ernest, and Shane Hennon. The indictments in these cases contain only allegations, and the defendants are presumed innocent until they are proven guilty in a court of law. But my message to the defendants who've been rounded up today is this: your winning streak has ended. Your luck has run out. Violating the law is a losing proposition, and you can bet on that.
Like, who wrote that? Are you kidding me? Love the puns.
But my message to the defendants who've been rounded up today is this: your winning streak has ended. Your luck has run out. Violating the law is a losing proposition, and you can bet on that.
Okay, there you go. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. We get a winner, Shacker, for the Adam Sandler tickets?
Yeah, out in Estacada. One of your callers from earlier in the show called back and is now going to see Adam Sandler.
Nice. Estacada. I'll never do a high school game from Estacada ever again after the guy with the Rambo knife cut my broadcast cord, but I'm happy you're going to see Adam Sandler.
Hey, at least we got you out to Gresham this year.
That's true. The Blazer rally was awesome, and the weather was perfect. You were out there, too. Remember how warm it was?
Yeah, we need to do more remotes in Gresham.
All right, let's go out to Don in Beaverton. Don, my friend, what's going on? What's on your mind? What was your reaction to the news today?
Well, I just heard about it now. All I know is that he had controversy in his life. When you have a lot of controversy, you could possibly dive into more. People believed it one way. They know how to do the research, Dad. They do. Honestly, they got people that are really high intel. They know how to do it. You know what I mean?
When you say they, are you referring to the feds?
Yeah, they got really super genius people working behind the scenes, tracking things. They got spies. They just know how to infiltrate and know these things. You accuse someone of nothing. I mean, look, they found billions of waste in all these programs. You know? They got specialty people. It's kind of like Skyfall. You ever see that movie?
Skyfall?
Skyfall?
Yeah, James Bond.
Yeah. Well, you know, in that James Bond movie, there was a scene in there where he gets taken by that one guy and he's brought to this one place, and then there's that underground room filled with people with computers right there. There's like 200 of them, and he finally gets them. He blows them up, but it's like that. The government's got these secret rooms of people just diving into getting facts, paper trails or digital trails. I'm serious. It's happening.
Do you think there are people underground in front of a computer tracking you and me, Don?
Oh yeah, everybody. You know, it's the AI. AI's taking over, man. There's a lot of AI going out there. Hey, Chad, I haven't talked to you for a while, man.
I know I miss you, Donnie. It's nice to hear your voice, buddy.
Dude, you're my buddy. I mean, you're high on Bo Nix, man. It was like, I didn't get to see the game. I saw it on GameCast, and I just knew this guy was having a game of his life.
Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns passing and 2 touchdowns rushing in the fourth quarter. He's the only player to ever do that.
Yeah, and they were thinking, you know, Bo Jackson kind of stuff, you know? Bo Jackson kind of stuff.
There's Don in Beaverton. I love you, Don. All right, we'll come back. Sean Hiking going to join us. Thank you for the pleasant thoughts of people underground with computers tracking us, Donnie. I appreciate that. What song is this, Shacker?
Winner Takes It All by ABBA.
That's what I thought it was. Thank you. Winner Takes All from ABBA. All right, Sean Hiken was at the arraignment. I just saw a video of Coach Billups leaving the courthouse. So we'll get the latest from Sean In regards to news that broke today, Tiago Splitter will be the interim head coach. I like ABBA a lot. Are you down with ABBA, Shacker?
Recently, I've been watching ABBA music videos I've never seen before. I'm glad they made a bunch.
I like Fernando.
And I've seen the music video to this. Yeah, they don't look at the camera. They like look to the side.
I know. This is a good song. All right, Sean Heikens coming up next. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Rose Garden Report right here on 620 Rip City Radio. He was downtown for from Rose Garden Report right here on 620 Rip City Radio. He was downtown for the arraignment of Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups today at the courthouse, and he joins us right now. Hey, Sean, let's start with this. Just your reaction to the news this morning when you read what happened to Coach Billups.
Well, I woke up around 8 o'clock, and then I look at my phone, and I wonder why I have 104 unread text messages, and then I kind of start looking into what happened, and yeah, I mean, it's certainly a turn of events from 12 hours before, because the vibes were phenomenal last night, just across the board in terms of, they lose the game to Minnesota, but they played great. They played exactly the way that Chauncey had been talking about how they want to play at both ends of the floor. And even though they lost, we talked to him afterwards, and he was in a great mood. He was very happy about the way that the team had played. He felt good about it. It just seemed like everything was good. The mood was good. And then you wake up to this news this morning, and I mean, that's just kind of where it is.
All right, I know you know a lot of people outside of Portland around the league, and you don't have to give up any specific names, but what's the general reaction or consensus to the news once they read it and reacted to it? What are you gathering from them?
I think everybody's just shocked that this happened, that it was this, an active, head coach in the NBA is being accused of this sort of stuff. There had been the Terry Rozier piece of it, which is a different actual case than the one that Chauncey Billups is being charged in. Like, that stuff was kind of out there, and so there was still kind of some stuff going on with that, but I don't think anybody really had any inkling that Chauncey's name was going to be attached to any of this stuff until the news came out this morning.
Yeah, pretty shocking. Now, I've never been to an arraignment. You were there in downtown at the courthouse, so walk me through that whole process and what it was like being there and what information you uncovered.
It was actually a pretty brief thing. I think we were only in the courtroom for about 20 minutes. So Chauncey walks in with his lawyer, and then the judge is there. And it's really just kind of a procedural, housekeeping thing. There wasn't really nobody, this wasn't his actual trial. He wasn't testifying, and nobody was testifying. Chauncey said 2 words the entire time. He was asked if he understood that he had the right to remain silent, and he said yes. And then he was asked if he had any objections to the conditions of his release, and he said no. Those are the only words that he said. But then there was just kind of some back and forth between the judge and his lawyer and the state's and the government's attorney that was there, and just kind of going over the release conditions. It was all just kind of procedural stuff. There was nothing really explosive that happened. And now Chauncey is out. He's not currently in custody. He left the courthouse. I was not the only media person there. There were a bunch of other reporters, TV cameras, that kind of thing. We were staking out the courthouse for a couple of hours waiting for him to come out, because after the hearing, he had to go and, get all the paperwork processed and whatever that process entails. And then he walks out with his lawyer and a couple of other people. I assume those are security or bodyguards. And then, they walk from the entrance of the courthouse and over to this black SUV. He gets into it, drives off, doesn't say a word, and that's it. And as far as the conditions of the release, he has to surrender his passport. He can only travel to Oregon, Colorado, where he's from, and New York, where the trial is. They didn't say what the amount of money was on his bond, but they said it was a substantial amount of money. He can't engage in any kind of gambling-related activities. He can't have any contact with any of the co-defendants in the case, and he can't own any kind of firearms.
We're talking with Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report here on the Rip City Drive. All right, so Tiago Splitter will step in as interim head coach while Chauncey is away on leave. I've heard a lot of good things about Tiago Splitter. What do you think about him getting this opportunity and what type of coach he might be?
I thought it was interesting that was who they went with. You kind of assumed immediately that once they had to have an interim head coach, the logical choice would be Nate Bjorkgren because he's been a head coach before, and even though it obviously didn't go well the year that he was a head coach in Indiana, with this much of a microscope on the team, maybe they wanted to stay away from that. But he also filled in last year for the 2 games in December that Chauncey missed when his grandmother died, and he went to her funeral. So, and the Blazers won both of those games. And Nate has been around for a year longer than Tiago. He knows the guys. That's kind of who I thought at first blush that they were going to go with.
Yeah.
But when you consider that Tiago Splitter, even though he's never been a head coach in the NBA before, he just was a head coach before he took this job in the French League with Paris basketball and did very, very well in that. They won the French League championship and qualified for the Euro League for the first time in that franchise's history. And he was also the one that has been widely credited with installing this new offense that everybody's been talking about so much during training camp. So from that standpoint, it made sense that was who they went with.
You've been doing this a long time, Sean. Is this the wildest story you've covered?
I mean, I think this just edges out the Neil Olshey stuff from 5 years ago or 4 years ago, whenever that was. I lose track of time, but yeah, I can't say I've ever had a coach of a team that I cover get arrested by the FBI in connection with undercover poker games that were run by the mafia, allegedly. I can't say I've had that. I've encountered that before. No.
Yeah, no question about it. So, is it safe to say that Billups has coached his last game with the Trailblazers?
I think he's got bigger things to worry about than whether he's going to coach in the NBA or not. I mean, when you look at what these charges are and who some of the people are that are alleged to be involved with, I don't think anything good is going to come out of this for Chauncey, assuming that, depending on how the trial goes in terms of if he's, convicted or whatever the case may be. I can't imagine how his coaching career or any other, front-facing career in the NBA can continue after something like this, especially with it being involving gambling in the NBA with how much these sports leagues are now, in bed with the gambling companies over the last few years since it's become legalized. Anybody who has any kind of connection with any of this kind of stuff, they are probably not going to be welcoming back in anytime soon. So no, I don't think Chauncey will be coaching for the Blazers or anybody else anytime soon.
I've always been around, in my time of being around athletes, interacting with them, talking with them, the one thing I've recognized is that they deal with adversity pretty well, and they do a great job of compartmentalizing and focusing on the task at hand. Like, I just have a sense that this group, even though this is an unfortunate situation, they'll probably move ahead with Tiago Splitter with no issue. Like, I think this team will continue to go out and pursue the things they want without too much issue. How do you see that moving forward with the group?
Guess we'll find out. I mean, I will say I do think it's it's a pretty solid group as far as the personalities and, especially, and I think this was obviously not the intention when when Joe Cronin made these moves over the summer, but having somebody like Drew Holiday, who's just a professional and knows how to, handle, obviously nothing Drew has ever dealt with in his career has been anything close to something like this, but having a personality like that in the locker room, and then also having Damian Lillard back in the locker room, like having those types of personalities on the roster, I think is only going to help things. And the rest of the coaching staff is all very well respected. And so I'm going to be, it could go one of two ways. They could all rally around each other and say, we had all these high hopes going into the season, and then we had this completely catastrophic thing happen one day into the season that none of us ever saw coming, and it brings them closer together. Or the season could just go completely off the rails and, and it is just a complete disaster. It could go one of two ways. I don't really see much in between.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. Now, in regard to what you saw last night, I mean, just through my eyes, just the overall takeaway was I love the way they competed. I love the pace they played with. And I thought the defensive intensity throughout was pretty darn good. What were some of your general takeaways from the opener last night?
Pretty much what you just said. I think if there's one thing that you would say you would have liked to see go better, it would be Shaedon Sharp's, shooting efficiency. But even with him having he was 5 for 20 from the field, even with him having a terrible night shooting the ball, he was still locked in defensively. He was getting to his spots. He was doing all the stuff that everybody said he was supposed to do. And then you look at, how well Jeremy Grant played off the bench after it made all this news that he was going to come off the bench. Drew Holiday looked pretty plug and play. Tumani Kamara and Denny Avdia both just did what they do and did what they did for a lot of last season. And, even some of the other guys that are still getting integrated into the team, Matisse Thybulle, Blake Wesley, those guys are pretty disruptive on the defensive end of the floor. Outside of the final score, there's really not a whole lot not to like with the way that they played.
Boy, the coaching staff looks like geniuses right now with Grant coming off the bench. I mean, we've watched him a lot here in Portland, Sean. He was sensational last night.
That was one of the best games he's ever played in a Trailblazers uniform.
I agree.
I mean, the only thing that I can think of that is immediately is better is that game winner that he hit against, was it Phoenix? Or was it Phoenix or Miami on that first road trip of his first season?
Yeah, I think that was Phoenix.
Games last year.
Yeah.
That was Josh Hart was Miami. Jeremy was Phoenix. Yeah, that's the only other game I can think of that comes close to that one. No, I think overall across the board, and the fact that even though they stopped making shots in the fourth quarter and they ended up losing the game because of that, the team that they play and the team that they had that type of performance against was Minnesota, who's one of the 2 or 3 teams in the West that probably has the best chance of actually going to the finals and has arguably a top 5 player in the league in Anthony Edwards, who was phenomenal last night, but the Blazers made him work for everything. So the fact that they all coming out of the gate, even though they didn't win that game, the fact that they showed they can hang with a team like that, I think that has to be very encouraging in a vacuum. But now, obviously, something like this happens, and we'll see how that affects things. I can't imagine it won't affect things, but we'll see what effect it has.
All right, what do you anticipate tomorrow in terms of pregame press conference? Are we going to hear from Joe and Tiago together? How are they going to handle that?
That is a good question. I mean, Tiago is going to talk. I know that. I don't know anything about what Joe is going to do or not do. I would think with something like this, he's probably going to have to talk at some point. I can't imagine that they're just going to not have him talk until whatever the next time he would talk would be, like after the trade deadline or something. So I can't. I think they. And I will say that this organization in the post Neil Olshey era, I think they've done a good job of knowing that they do have to address this kind of stuff and get out ahead of it and not just think that they can avoid it. So I would imagine that Joe talks at some point. I don't know if that's going to be tomorrow or at some other point in the future, but I think he has to eventually. I think everybody kind of wants. I mean, because you have to keep in mind. He did not hire Chauncey Billups. Neil Olshey did, but Joe made the decision to extend Chauncey last spring. So, he is tied to, to this in some ways for sure. And then, you also keep in mind, the new ownership going on. I think everybody kind of wants to hear from leadership in some capacity, and that's got to happen at some point. I just don't know when that's going to be.
All right, Sean Highkin. So what's in store for you for the rest of the evening? You've been covering this since this morning. You've got a piece up at rosegardenreport.com. You just covered the arraignment. What else are you going to do between now and the time you lie your head down to sleep?
Got to write up what I got from the arraignment today and then kind of figure out what the plan of attack is for tomorrow. I don't know. Sometimes this job just throws curveballs at you, and you got to kind of adapt and figure it out, as you know.
Well, Sean, you're a baller, dude. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at Moda Center for our pregame conversation. But thanks for popping on today and all the work that you're doing. But keep killing it, my friend. Thank you.
No.
Well, I like to tell people I don't live in Jamaica. I live in regular Mexico. I like to tell people I don't live in Jamaica. I live in regular Mexico. I like to tell people I don't live in Jamaica. I live in regular Mexico. People, I don't live in Jamaica. I live in regular Mexico. No, I'm worried, Chad. Maybe I should be that the league and our new owner might go. This is gonna.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Michael. Phone connection was bad. 503-248-0620. It's not your fault. Fart.
Sounded like he was holding the phone upside down.
I know. It's not. I just said fart. I meant it's not your fault. I don't know why I would say that word. It's not your fault. It's just a bad phone connection. I have no idea what you said right out of the gate. It was a bunch of gobbledygook.
Was he smuggling the phone in to the courthouse?
Yeah, leave it to phones. I hate phones. 503-248-0620. If you want to react to the news today in regard to Chauncey Billups, I'd love to hear your take. And by the way, thank you. I'm in a difficult spot. I work for the team. I also work on this station as a partner. So today was difficult. And you guys have delivered exactly what I needed from you, which is your phone calls and your takes. Thank you. And this is what makes talk radio beautiful. There's nothing like it in the world where big news goes down, phone lines are open, and then we get a chance to share in this together. And that, man, it's awesome. I love it, love it, love it. Let's go back out to the phones. Let's go to Gresham. Brian in Gresham. Brian, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's your take on the news today?
Well, other than it being crummy that it happened right here at the start of the season, I just hope the adversity brings the boys together.
Me too.
And they overachieve. This could be good for them. And I didn't dislike Chance, but if he's doing dumb stuff like that, I mean, he's got to deal with it, I guess, right? So
I like your thought process, Brian. I like that. Brian and Gresham, like, hey, this adversity can bring them together. I think the players are going to be fine. I mean, at the end of the day, it's basketball. And Tiago Splitter knows what he's doing. These guys are going to go out there and ball out. Let's go to LeGrand. Peter in LeGrand. Peter, I appreciate the call, my friend. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's your take on the news today?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, it really shouldn't be any surprise at all to any Blazer fan out there. Look at our history, right? Everything comes back to bite us. So, fourth quarter into 2000, Game 7, Jay Blazer era. It's great. We draft Brandon Roy, and then the knees hit, right? Then we draft Gragan, then the knees hit. And then we hit with Damian Lillard, which is awesome. And then Marcus leaves, and then that team falls apart. We make the 2019 Western Conference Finals, run up against one of the best teams ever in Golden State Warriors, and here we are.
Yeah, it's par for the course, isn't it, Peter? Appreciate that. Always enjoy the Trailblazers trip through memory lane. Oh, Michael's back. Michael, Lake Oswego, I'm glad you called back, my friend. The stage is yours. Fire away.
Hey, sorry about that before. I was just going to say, I'm concerned, Chad, that maybe the league will look at this and go, Portland, this is another black eye for Portland. I'm afraid that maybe the new owner goes, maybe we should set up shop somewhere else. And maybe that's not something to worry about. But I'm worried that Silver might, decide to drop the hammer and say, hey, let's get the owners together and see if we can get, move on from Portland. And maybe that's irrational. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're going to be okay, Michael. I understand your concern. You're not the only Trailblazer fan that has that concern. But Commissioner Silver is not going to allow the team to leave Portland. They want teams in the Northwest. They want an I-5 rivalry. It's been a great town and a great fan base that supported the NBA. It's one of the most successful markets for the NBA. You don't want to take that away when there are other markets that are struggling, like New Orleans, Memphis. They're not going to take a team out of Portland. And the reality is, it's like this is the actions of a man, not the city or the town or the team. So the franchise should not be held responsible for that. So, no, I don't think the team's going to move, and I don't think this latest bit of news is going to impact that at all. All right, Dave in Clackamas, Ryan in Beaverton, Eddie in Vancouver. Your phone calls are coming up next, so stay there. We'll get to that. Great phone calls today, great interaction, really being a big part of the show, and that means a lot to me because that's what talk radio is all about. So your calls are coming up next. Your reaction to the news that Chauncey Billups arrested this morning in Lake Oswego in the 5 o'clock hour for a wide-ranging investigation into illegal sports betting and underground poker games that were rigged. All right, 503-248-0620. The good thing is I have freedom. I don't have to shut this down right at 6. So let's take more phone calls. Your reaction to the news today involving Blazer coach Chauncey Billups. And my bottom line message is pretty simple. We'll let the due process take place. But in regard to the team, look, I'm a Blazer fan, and I love the team just like you do. We just got to rally behind them and behind the new coach, Tiago Splitter, and support the guys because they got a good squad, man. They were busting their ass last night with the defense and the effort and the pace they were playing with. I mean, there were so many good things that come out of the game. Jeremy Grant balled out of his backside. It was awesome. Now, they lost the game, and freaking Edwards is a beast, but oh well. So you lose to Minnesota. They're a championship contender. You bounce back now and get ready for the Warriors. This team's got a chance to be really good, regardless of the news today. So we got to do what we do as Blazer fans and rally behind the squad. Let's go out to the phones. We'll go to Beaverton. Ryan in Beaverton. Ryan, appreciate the call. You're up. Your reaction to everything that went down today.
What's up, Chad? How you doing?
Oh, what's up, Ryan?
So I'm a young Blazer fan. I'm 25, so the whole jail Blazer era and even before that with the 2000 heartbreak, I kind of missed that whole era, and so I was kind of blessed with the Brandon Roy and the Lillard years, and for such a passionate, almost desperate fan base for something to go well, it kind of feels like a slap in the face for him just to walk in here and almost kind of walk over us.
Yeah, man, it is. I think that's a perfect way to describe it, and I've heard from a lot of Blazer fans, it is like a slap in the face. It's like just when you start to get things moving in the right direction, or as Joe Freeman wrote, here we go again. Chauncey Billups' arrest is another setback for the Trailblazers franchise seeking momentum. Yeah, it sucks. Let's go to Kevin in Northeast. Kevin, appreciate the call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. Your reaction to the news.
Thanks, Chad. I kind of wanted to, the biggest issue I think that a head coach brings is culture and character. And I think Chauncey did a really good job of instilling that in the team. And that's why this is so shocking. Because, as somebody brought up before, that, yeah, he did actually have the rape allegations against him. And I think a lot of us forgot that because we've been watching him sort of cultivate this work ethic amongst the team, and especially starting at the end of last year, seeing that pay off, with the defensive intensity on a team that has been notoriously terrible in defense for so long. So that's my disappointment, that this person that is responsible for the culture and the character building of a very young squad may have this, may have a rap sheet on him now. And that's terribly disappointing. But the other thing I wanted to kind of react to what Dwight James was saying earlier, like celebrities get, paid to make appearances all the time. $50K for a celebrity appearance at a poker game seems pretty normal to me. So waiting to see how involved in the fraud or the cheating element of it, or whether he's able to prove he knew anything about it or didn't know anything about it, that's where the case lies as far as that's concerned. But the co-conspirator number 8 thing, that's a whole different kettle of fish, too, that really, you can't have your coach, any coach involved on that level, basically a Pete Rose level, I guess, in undermining the legitimacy of any competition at this professional level. So that is really disappointing. But at the same time, you could also argue it's a nothing burger because, like Dwight was saying, the team was openly tanking, and everybody knew it too. So it brings up the question of why and how does Chauncey get targeted by the FBI in a situation like this? Maybe it's because somebody flipped and threw him a bone to save their own hide, or who knows? Could be racial targeting. This is a successful African-American in a high-ranking position. Those are my questions.
And I think those are great questions, and that's why we got to let the process play out. And I like Chauncey, so I hope that, these allegations are false and that he's going to be able to prove his innocence in the court of law. I really do, because I like the guy. And you're right about the culture. He built a terrific culture, and the players respond to him. and we saw it last night. They were defending like dogs, which is something we've wanted for so long. Let's go to Dave and Clackamas. Dave, appreciate the call. You're up. Your reaction to the news.
Hi, Chad. Always nice talking to you. This was probably the biggest bombshell I can think of in the Blazer organization since, well, in a bad way anyway, since I can remember. It's really a shame. What's kind of disturbing to me is that from what I read, it sounds like it goes all the way back to like 2019 or something like that. So that's going back pretty far. So, this country is, like you said, due process. You're innocent until proven guilty. It's just a shame, much to the chagrin of a lot of fans. I think Billups could have shown how good a coach he is, because now we have a lot of really great up-and-coming players. But with this happening, it's kind of like a new chapter. So I'm hoping that he is innocent. I'm pulling for him. I think the Blazers can still, the players I think are still going to play well. But even with this whole thing hanging over Chauncey's head, even if he's innocent, his chances of being with the Blazers anymore is pretty much done, I think. And as far as the league goes, he may be shunned as well, even if he's innocent, which is really a shame because it seems like he's a pretty good guy. I hope he's not shunned. I remember way back Kermit Washington was shunned. I hope Chauncey isn't either. So I'm hoping he can be found innocent. He is innocent. It's a dark cloud, but we'll persevere.
Well, I appreciate the phone call, Dave. Thank you so much. Let's go to Beaverton again. Rylan, you're up on the Rip City Drive. Fire away.
What's up, dude? Sorry about that. Disconnected.
No, it's okay.
So pretty much just saying how it was just it's a desperate fan base that it always just takes a hit at some point. We can't catch a break, it seems like.
Yeah. No, it sucks, man. That's the way I feel, too. It's like you start to turn a corner and, the team had done so many great things throughout the course of the offseason. And a lot of excitement coming off the opener where they competed so well, and then you wake up to this news. But we get up, we get ready for the Warriors, and move on. Our job is, fans, we just got to support the group and continue to cheer them on, and they're going to continue to grind. Athletes are pretty sweet when it comes to dealing with, coaching changes, chaos, adversity. They've been dealing with this stuff their whole life. That's what they do. And they bounce back and respond, and they're very resilient. So I think the team's going to be fine. Defense from the entire squad. I thought the energy we saw from Avdia and Kamara from the entire squad. I thought the energy we saw from Avdia and Kamara was really good. Klingon was tough, showed a lot of toughness against Gobert. So a lot of things to be excited about. Tomorrow, I think we have more Sandler tickets to give away. I'll be live from the Rip City Drive. I'll be live at Moda Center at 3 with the Rip City Drive. I'll take the show up until 5 o'clock. Brian Bino is going to join me. And then we'll talk with Sean Hyken as well at 4:20. Sandler tickets. And then Blazer Game Day with Chris Burkhardt at 5. I'll have the network pregame show at 6. Tip-off against the Warriors at 7 o'clock. And we'll see how the Trailblazers navigate with their communication before the game. It's going to be an interesting night at Moda Center. But most importantly today, thanks to Michael Shacker, to Chris Burkhardt, the Godfather Dwight James, and Sean Hyken. And most special to me are the phone calls today. The callers were great. The interaction was special, and you guys were awesome. So thank you for calling in and sharing your take. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll talk to you then. You guys have a great night. See ya.